Am I wrong for not agreeing to become a stay-at-home wife when I retire? I'm retiring in about 312 months, and my husband and I disagree on how the division of labor should be once that happens. Since meeting my now husband, I have been very vocal about my plans to retire when I turn 40. I've planned my life around this goal, lived below my means ever since college, and sacrificed things to meet this goal. We got married in our early 30s, so it's only been 7 years since then. He also saves for retirement. I finally got him to increase his amount to 20%, but won't be able to retire until at least 62. He's instead chosen to spend his money on things that make him happy, and I fully support and encourage him in that. Everyone has different goals in life. We are both child-free by choice, so that isn't a factor here. I've said in the past that I'm not going to be doing all of the cooking, cleaning, and finances once I retire because I don't want to replace one job with another. I currently do all of the cooking, most of the finances, and probably 25% of the cleaning. I think that it's fair as my husband usually works more hours than I do, and I'm a picky eater, so it just works out best. He recently made a casual comment about how he's going to start working more overtime once I retire because he'll have less household stuff to do. I asked him what he meant by that since my retirement doesn't really change anything for him, and that I preferred he didn't work more overtime so that we could spend time together. He said that most husbands with stay-at-home wives don't clean the house. I didn't know what to say because I thought we had already discussed this, so I tried my best to change the subject, but we had an argument about it yesterday at dinner, and he's now giving me the silent treatment. I slept in the guest room last night as he locked our bedroom door and wouldn't let me in. I just don't know how to get through to him. Even though I'll no longer be working, I won't be a stay-at-home wife, by my own definition. To me, a stay-at-home partner is the manager of the home and doesn't bring in much, if any, income. Their job is to take care of the home. I'm not trading one job for another. I'm retiring. I'm still bringing in income. I've just organized my life, so I no longer have to work 9 to 5 to do so. I have various hobbies that I'm super excited about dedicating more time to. I love rock hounding, crocheting, and hiking. I'm an unpublished writer and have always dreamed of being published. I have a lifestyle blog and a pretty active Pinterest following. I'm not super consistent and they're not big enough to monetize, so I count them as hobbies, not side jobs. I also have a very long travel bucket list. I've already started looking into nonprofits in my area I could volunteer for. I know I still have limited hours in a day, but even if I only volunteer 1 day a week, I still feel like I could be helping our local community. I know we've had conversations about this, and he's always been supportive, even of me leaving for a few weeks now and then to solo travel. He's always been excited for me. I'm totally confused about this change, and I'm freaking out. I thought I communicated my expectations, but he's saying that he doesn't ever remember talking about it and that he's not okay with me retiring if I'm just going to be lazy. I don't see it that way. Am I wrong? Relevant comments. How are you currently splitting expenses? We split expenses proportionally based on income. I pay 70% of expenses, and that will continue once I retire. More about husband. To be fair to my husband, this post is about an argument we're having. I didn't put in my post all the great things about him and all the other things we agree on. I struggle with depression and anxiety, and he's the only partner I've had that has helped my mental health rather than hurt it. He's typically very considerate, kind, and supportive. The traits that make me proficient at handling money also make me poor at enjoying life. I'm quite serious and can be a pragmatist, despite my fantasy world-building LOL, but he's an extroverted, lively person who has taught me to seize the moment and unwind. The reason I chose to post here is because this argument is unusual for us, and his demeanor and actions threw me off. He does his fair share. The tasks he handles are those I'm literally unable to do, or ones that I despise, and he doesn't mind them. So I truly appreciate our arrangement. Locking you out was not okay. I will definitely address what happened last night. Locking me out is one of the main issues about what happened that concerned me enough to seek external opinions. But from reading the comments, I think I may have been too quick to dismiss his thoughts instead of finding a compromise or understanding why he was changing his mind on this subject. When is the last time you brought up this retiring early with him? I went on a weekend backpacking trip about 5 months ago, and when I got back, I remarked about how I can't wait to be able to hike more frequently. We ended up discussing my travel plans for the upcoming years. Since I do all the cooking, that was mentioned as well. He wanted me to prepare all of his meals in advance before I leave, but we eventually agreed that I would stock the fridge, and he would either cook for himself or order takeout. If he retired, he wouldn't take on more work either. I know this because it was challenging enough to get him to agree to do the chores he currently does. Since I handle all the cooking, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, most of the finances, grocery shopping, and kitchen cleanup, vacuuming, mopping, general tidying around the house, dusting, I also manage any repairs. We live in my dream house, but because it's old, it requires a lot of upkeep. My husband wanted a newer home, so I agreed to take on all of that. I also manage the carriage house that we rent out. If I did any additional chores, I wouldn't have time for anything else. He handles landscaping, cleans bathrooms, takes care of his turtles, washes windows and blinds, and looks after his laundry and the communal laundry, towels, sheets, etc. I think it's fair as we both tackle most of the chores over the weekend, obviously except daily chores, and we both have free time. It feels like you two are leading separate lives at this point, at least financially. Well, aside from joint expenses, expenses, we maintained separate finances. When we first started dating, he had about $100,000 in debt. I helped him create a plan to pay it off and contributed about $20,000 myself. I own multiple rental properties that I bought in my 20s, which aren't marital assets. Most of the things I sacrificed were in my 20s before we met because I made less money. I never went out and lived on $35,000 per year, even though I was making $70,000 pre-tax. Now I make enough to save half my income but still have around $100,000 left for expenses. I pay 70% of the bills, but I've given up trying to get my husband to think more seriously about retirement. I love him, and we agree on everything except finances. It's never really been an issue until now. Why don't you want him to work overtime when it would allow him to save more? If he wants to prioritize retirement, I would be more inclined to do more of the housework and have him work overtime. But I would want him to agree to put that money into retirement instead of spending it like he has in the past. Even with this arrangement, I still wouldn't want to do everything. What does he spend it on? He spends a lot on expensive Legos, action figures, and limited edition comics. I knew what I was getting myself into. We met at a convention. I pay 70% of our expenses. That includes date nights, our house, and our cars. I have hobbies too. I crochet but buy inexpensive yarn. I don't sell anything, so it doesn't bother me. I love geology, but I discover new rocks instead of purchasing pricey specimens, etc. Update. So he came home quite late that night after ignoring his phone. We didn't end up discussing it, and I slept in the guest room again. He works from home on Tuesday and Thursday, so the next day he was home when I got off work. I spent the day collecting my thoughts and preparing to have a calm conversation. I tried to stay calm, but he was so defensive and accusatory that I was getting really frustrated. We weren't very productive, and we ended our talk with him denying that I pay 70% of the expenses, even though we budget together based on it. I told him I'd go through our expenses to prove it, and being the person that I am, I did so the next day. This is where the issue starts. When I was reviewing our expenses, I found a charge on my husband's credit card from 2 weeks ago that I didn't recognize. It was not a minor amount, so I initially looked into it just to see if it was a household or personal expense to use in my calculations. It turned out to be a bill paid to a law office. For very obvious reasons, I wanted to know more about why he was being billed by a law office. I looked up the office, and it was a divorce attorney specializing in property division. I logged into his email. I have proof that he has given me permission to access his email at any time to go over expenses and expense-related issues, and found his conversations with the lawyer. He was trying to find a way to overturn our prenup so he gets half, instead of what is agreed upon in our prenup, and wanted to try and get alimony as well. I had no idea he wasn't content until we started arguing on Saturday. That morning, he woke me up with breakfast in bed, a complete surprise since it wasn't a special day, and he almost never cooks. 2 weeks ago, we had a Star Wars movie marathon and ran around the house in a lightsaber battle. Last month, he communicated that he felt like we weren't spending as much time together as we normally do, so I planned more date nights. He's gotten me flowers at least once a week for months now. I just didn't understand why he wanted to divorce, without even trying to express what he was feeling to me first. When I went all the way back to the very first emails, late July, a woman we'll call Ashley was brought up. I tried to think of a way to confirm my suspicions without him suspecting that I know what he's been up to. On Saturdays, we sometimes get takeout, so I purposely left my phone upstairs and asked him if I could use his to order the food, and I was taking too long to figure out what I wanted, so he went downstairs to finish what he was doing, giving me more time. It was hard to wait that long without letting on what I knew, but from Thursday to Saturday, I began to get a plan in place. I spoke with a divorce attorney and scheduled my consultation, and made sure I had any legal and financial documents I may need. On Saturday, when I went through his phone, I found Instagram messages between him and Ashley. By going through the messages and looking at her account, I figured out a lot about her. Ashley seems to be a nice woman he met on Tinder back in May. She is 27 and married to her high school sweetheart who can't bring in enough money for her to be a stay-at-home wife. Considering my husband works in tech, and by looking at the messages, lied about how much he makes, he is obviously the better option. He's lied to her about wanting to have kids and has told her that it's the reason he is unhappy in our marriage. I don't know what he's thinking she's going to do when she finds out he had a vasectomy. Ashley is apparently willing to be a proper woman and do wifely duties. These are her words, not my husband's. From cross-checking dates, when he says he's hanging out with friends or at a work event, he's actually spending time with her. She has an odd work schedule, so she sometimes comes over to our house on the days he works from home, and I'm at the office. She believes that after their respective divorces, they will live in our house together, get married, and start a family. He has just agreed to everything she says. He's told her that I'm lazy, hardly earn any money, and that I wanted to quit my job and do nothing, which is why he's finally found the courage to leave me. He mentioned that he's being careful in the divorce because he doesn't want to leave me with nothing. He also told her I changed my mind about having children, and that I'm denying him his masculine desire to carry on his lineage. Now you might be thinking, are you oblivious? How did you not know? The answer is, I had no clue, and I must be stupid as he made a fool out of me. I'm trying to add some humor here for my own sanity, but I'm crying as I write this. I just returned from my new attorney's office with a bunch of forms to fill out, and I'm so overwhelmed and still somehow confused. Like, this must be just a terrible nightmare. I contacted Ashley's husband, so they're likely heading toward divorce as well. He seems like a decent guy, also completely shocked by the affair. I informed my husband last night that I was divorcing him and told him he could either sleep in one of the guest rooms or get a hotel room. He chose the hotel. So that's my update. Our prenup has a 99% chance of holding up in court, but we also have an infidelity clause that I hope to prove so I can keep 100% of the house. I was willing to include my dream house in the infidelity clause because I knew I would never cheat. He was fine with it at the time, but now he's blowing up my phone about it. If I can't prove his affair, which is unlikely considering the evidence I have, I would have to pay him about 25% of our equity in the house. This amount is sufficient for a down payment on another house, so he wants me to not bring his affair into our divorce, which is strange to me since he had no qualms about bringing the affair into our marriage. Update. I guess a minor update to what I replied to you about earlier, but it turns out Ashley is staying at the same hotel as my husband. Go figure, LOL. Update. Hi everyone. A lot of people have asked for an update and I'm officially divorced, so here it is. I'm doing well and have been focusing on myself a lot. I plan to start dating eventually, but I don't feel quite ready yet. Hopefully everything stays fine and dandy, and this is the last you'll have to hear from me. I didn't want this to be too long, so I figured you guys could just ask me anything else you wish to know. Fake names to make things simpler. My ex. Derek X's affair partner. Ashley affair partner's ex. Jake. Going back to the earliest piece of drama, most of what I'm recounting is from the viewpoint of Jake as I was not directly involved in this story. I blocked Derek and communicated through my lawyer. Nothing crazy happened when he had to come to the house. In October, Derek had a meeting with his lawyer. We're guessing his lawyer had some bad news for him, or maybe finally told him that he was screwed. Whatever it was, it caused him to have a mental breakdown where he basically confessed everything to Ashley and told her that he was going to lose everything. It took her another day to show up at Jake's house, apologizing and wanting to make things work. He didn't take her up on that, and at this point, they are also divorced. She claimed that Derek manipulated her, but they are now back together, so I guess she hasn't had enough yet. I don't know if she knows about the vasectomy as I haven't had contact with her. Jake hasn't told her, and she didn't say anything about that to Jake when she ran back to him. She could know, but I don't know one way or another. That's her problem now. And by that, I mean the whole man. Derek cried in court multiple times and screamed at his lawyer once. He genuinely didn't look okay, and I do hope he figures things out for himself. Our prenup held up and nothing was deemed unconscionable. I came out with the house, my car, and all of my separate stuff. I had to pay him a small lump sum alimony payment. Silly things he tried to argue he should get at least half of because they weren't in our prenup. My rock collection, aka my baby. He knew this would hurt me the most. He didn't get any of it. My fine china sets. They were painted by my great-grandmother and given to me by my grandma. I don't know why he thought the judge would side with him. My car. I literally paid for both of our cars, and he tried to get half the value of mine and keep his. Make it make sense. Various vintage furniture pieces that I flipped myself and he had no interest in until now. He got a few of them, plus a bunch of other stuff, so a furniture run is in order. Some other fun details. I had a divorce retirement party at my place after everything was finalized. All mutual friends stopped being friends with him after I told them what happened. He still has other friends, and they don't seem to care about the situation, so who knows what he told them. His mom and I are still friends. She came to the party. I'm relieved that the divorce process has come to an end, and I can now look forward to a fresh start. I want to express my gratitude for the support and understanding you've all shown me during this challenging time. If anyone has any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Relevant comments. The next chapter. Thank you. I'm currently planning a solo trip and I'm going to Machu Picchu with my dad in October. We kept putting it off, but we finally nailed down plans. He just wanted to drag things out for you, the dick. Thank you. And yes, things could have been over faster, but he kept contesting everything. Security. Yes, I have a security system in place. I altered some things recently, so he doesn't know where all the cameras are. Finally got one of those Ring video doorbells. On dating. Thank you. I absolutely don't want to rush into dating. I'm still getting myself together, LOL. I'm hoping it will come naturally. I have enough activities where I feel like I should have no trouble meeting new people. I'm eager to see where life takes me. A few of the top comment exchanges. Commenter. As a rock hound, I'm just livid that he would try to go for your rocks and the china painted by your great-grandmother. Reading that his mom came to your divorce celebration party lifted my spirits again, though. Oop. I think my ancestors were rolling in their graves. Same with some of my jewelry. Like, I either bought it myself, it was gifted to me, or I inherited it. He seemed shocked he couldn't get any of it besides my engagement ring and wedding band. I didn't want them anymore, so I just let him have them to shut him up. Commenter. His mom and I are still friends. She came to the party. This sentence has everything. Victory, a semicolon, and a douche getting what he deserves. 1010 with Schadenfreude again. Oop. I love semicolons. I've been trying to use them more often.